who are they, for one, and why are they doing this?
You're not going to do anything in 2020 to a strong population. That you're too weak to go against the herd. They can make someone commit murder. It's child's play to these people. They're changing what you find safe. The longer durations you are outside the poison, the more you win your power back from them.
Okay, welcome to the Stellify podcast. I'm honoured to have Jason Christoff on the show today. Jason, I came across you probably about a year and a half ago on my friend AJ Roberts' show, and you blew me away, literally. Just simply from the way you are able to explain the mind control, because this is your expertise, obviously mind control and self-sabotage of the non-demic, as we will call it, in 2020, 2021, where a few of us could see through it for whatever reason, but the majority couldn't. And I always said that we were under some kind of military grade brainwashing, but you're the expert. You tell me, how did it look to you?
Well, it looked like all psychological operations look, Anthony. It was very group pressure based, and it looked like the group, they call it manufacturing consent, and what they're really manufacturing is not consent. They're manufacturing the size of the group or the majority as the narrative rolls out. So what was going on is there's the pressure, and the fear, of course, is how you start most psychological operations, because the fear changes brain function. And no one's born to fall into the trap of a psychological operation. Humans should be smart enough to figure it out, but if their brain chemistry is changed through fear, it triggers this low IQ part of the brain called the limbic system, the freeze, fight or flight or freeze or fawn system. And when that system is activated or initiated, it shuts down at the same time the prefrontal cortex, which is the thinking and moral and ethical and long-term consequence judger. And that part of the brain is just, again, behind our forehead. So the fear really rolled it out, got everybody into the low IQ state. Now, the low IQ state in the limbic system is a part of the brain that wants sort of safety and security. It will do anything to reacquire it. And it's also not good at judging the long-term consequences of what it takes to reacquire the safety. So you're in the ruling position, this is the optimal brain function to get the populace into. And then, of course, we're all wired with this subconscious mind pathway that's protective. This goes on like a cut healing, like our heart beating. These are in the subconscious mind pathway as well. They're meant to go on outside our conscious awareness to keep us safe. And there's another part of this protection mechanism is to look for repetition. So just like our heart beating, we don't have to get involved. This part of the brain that loves us and wants us safe counts for repetitive content in the environment. The people who rule us know this, so they really ramp up the repetitive content that they want our subconscious to focus in on. And the reason this part of the brain loves repetitive content is that the most repetitive images, ideas, or patterns reflects what the bigger group is thinking, doing, or saying. Humans are pack animals. We find safety in the middle of the bigger group, just like a zebra. If there's a zebra herd and the lion is starting to circle the herd, it's a lot safer in the middle. It's not so safe on the outside. So this group that mind controls us on a regular basis, they will start with the fear. I mean, we all remember the man in Wuhan that fell down face first. He did break his fall, of course,
Yeah,
with his hands, so we all know he wasn't
he
out
did.
cold. Yeah, he did. He did brace himself for the impact. Of course, probably got
He did.
paid. I mean, they probably paid him to not break his fall, but he did. It's natural as well. So that got the
Yeah.
fear going, and then the repetitive content was, here's the problem: death count, death count, death count. Very repetitive. And then, of course, the solution. It's also good to be reminded there's other mind control modalities at play. Like if we go back to 2011 with the film
Mhm.
Contagion, with I think it was Matt Damon and Lawrence Fishburne.
That's right. Yeah.
And in that film, it was a documentary of what rolled out in COVID. Now, this is called dormant programming. A lot of people call it predictive programming. But what it does, it starts the repetitive sprinkling into the subconscious mind pathway at such a low repetitive frequency that it just sits there dormant. It's called dormant programming. And in
Okay.
Contagion in 2011, we had the gyms were closed, we had the airports were closed, we had asymptomatic spread, we had died suddenly, we even had a drug that was supposed to help us in the interim before the vaccine was rolled out. It was called Rubivarin in Contagion. In real life, we called it remdesivir. Like, we had masking, we had social distancing, we had the military involved, we had curfews, we everything that they wanted us to follow and mimic and mirror. They not only put in Contagion, but in the past 20 years there was over 300 movies
Mhm.
that were of the same genre, like 28 Days, World War Z, I Am Legend with Will Smith, even Dustin Hoffman in Outbreak with Cuba Gooding Jr. So they
Yeah.
really laid a lot of the repetition into the subconscious mind, knowing that the subconscious does collect repetitive content, but it doesn't know when one movie ends and the next one begins. So it'll count content on the radio, it'll count content on the newspaper, in the movies, TV shows, and even like Hobbs and Shaw with Jason Statham and The Rock, it's about a viral outbreak. Angels and Demons were about a viral outbreak. There's big virus going to take down the world. This sort of psychologically primed the population to be afraid and
Mhm.
react as they had the script. And when we're
Yeah.
afraid, we don't think ourselves because the thinking is in the prefrontal cortex. We subvert, we go back and regress to the limbic system. And in the limbic system, there's only a jukebox with pre-made programs that have been put in throughout our lifetime how to react to fear-based situations. So there's no thinking involved. That's why everybody reacted the way they did. But if they knew psychological operations like a manual, they could certainly see it in real time. And if it had enough of the markers or signals or symptoms of a mind control operation, hopefully people wouldn't react so like reflexively like they did if they knew or were able to identify it as it was rolling out.
Yeah, and it's not just movies, is it? It's other things as well, isn't it? I think my missus is an avid watcher of American TV shows that are, the sort of the hospital kind of TV shows, and she's done reruns of those lately, and she'll point it out straight to me. So, oh my God, that was in 2015 or something, and they're talking about it then, and it's like you say, it's just complete programming. But are we programmed? The way I see it as well is that we're programmed heavily from birth. I mean, I see that the birth process is traumatic in itself, and then we're thrown into an indoctrination camp at the age of 4-year-old, and that progressively goes on where then you're told you've got to be in work at 16, 18 years of age, 9 to 5, work yourself to the bone, and then you're lucky if you'll have your pension in the UK. This isn't a way of living, is it?
Definitely not. And I think people are starting to really put it together. And I recently spoke at the U.S. Senate in the Kennedy caucus room on something called the COVID Roundtable. And it was with Senator Ron Johnson. And the person next to me, like Edward Dowd was there, and Matthias Desmet and Brent Weinstein and Dr. Robert Malone. And I even told openly, and there was like 30 different cameras there from different news agencies around the world. And I said, my subject of mind control is the most important here being discussed today, because everybody else, like say Edward Dowd, he was recalling the lost days due to the injuries from the shot and the insurance payouts that were premature, billions, hundreds of billions of dollars from the death. And then say that the doctor next to me to the left, he was speaking about the heart attacks and the strokes, the person, and then the injuries were piling up. Another doctor was recounting other horrific effects. And I just said, mine's the most important because everybody else is talking about the symptoms of mind control. And when I say mind control is the most important subject to educate on, I really mean that, because the entire existence that you just described is based solely on mind control. Like everything the person believes, everything they do is pre-scripted for us. And in the mind control field, there's repetitive content and various other modalities to basically expose the public to the repetitive ideas that you want them to follow. And we will follow it as humans because it's what's made us safe. Follow the repetitive content, find the bigger herd. But they also found that weak humans comply more because they need the herd more. So that's where the secondary weapon comes in. Yes, there's repetitive content. Yes, we follow the repetitive content as a subconscious, unconscious defense mechanism. But if you're poisoned, it actually weakens your body to the point where your nervous system decides on your behalf that you're too weak to go against the herd. Like you need the herd more because you're so weak. So it almost like the nervous system is always analyzing cellular function, blood plasma, blood itself, to say, is this man or woman even strong enough to have a disagreement with someone in the majority, let alone a fist fight, let alone getting fired, let alone something that would cause huge trauma to them. And this is why mind control is their primary modality of making sure we do as we're told. But this is also why everything's poison. It's all connected. Because the more poisoned you are, the more you comply, because the more you need the group to survive. You're too weak to survive on your own. And it's been so normalized. Like, why do you think on an airplane that the alcohol comes down on the cart and then all the food is poison? Then you get off the plane, all the food is poison in the airport, most airports anyway. You get to your hotel, there's alcohol and chocolate and caffeine and coffee in your room. It's served at the breakfast. People don't understand that this is it. Like, this is the mind control grid. The groceries, the food system is weaponized. It's poison. Alcohol is pure poison. That's why they call it alcohol poisoning. There's no such thing as cauliflower poisoning. Right? The medications are weaponized. I mean, if someone's going to commit suicide in a movie, they don't go to the medicine. They go to the medicine cabinet. They don't go to the vegetable crisper and down 4 heads of organic cauliflower. They go to any pill bottle in the medicine cabinet, and it doesn't matter if it's Tylenol or Ativan. It'll all do. I mean, it'll all kill you. And if you think that if the whole bottle will kill you, but you still think 1 pill of poison a day or 2 pills of poison a day is going to make you healthier, you've lost the plot, and you're probably under the mind control I'm talking about, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think one of the good things that came out of 2020, 2021 and such like is a lot of people. I had a pub during that period, Jason. I refused to close, and we became a hub for people that were aware of the situation and had nowhere to go, kind of thing, because obviously I lost friends, and family started thinking I was crazy and this, that, and the other, and it was a challenge to stand up against the herd, as you say.
Absolutely.
But it became very apparent to me that we needed to become more self-aware and become more responsible for ourselves, because you could no longer trust the systems that we're placed into, so that's where a lot of the truth and kind of, I don't like saying it, but the truth and market, if you like, the community, they are looking for an alternative way of living. So more people seem to be heading down a more holistic route, a more natural route, if you like. They're looking at more herbal remedies rather than coming away and literally coming away from the big pharma thing. So there is a positive to come out of that. But the majority still are shut off from that. They still think we are bonkers, batshit crazy. Do you see, if I can just step back a bit where I'm going to head with this, because I see myself on my awakening, if you like, on my awakening journey came from trauma. It came from a marriage that was very controlling and a traumatic divorce. So I started waking up, my process started waking up from there. A lot of the people that came to the pub seem to have come from trauma. So they were seeing things differently than others. Is there? I mean, I could see the correlation then. Is that an actual fact?
Oh yeah. The thing about maturity, it's a process. So when you go from being a true child to a true adult, it always involves pain, suffering, and discomfort. And the system overwhelmingly produces the pain and the failure and the discomfort. But what it also does is it gives you these sedative compounds so you can't feel it, because you have to feel it for it to enact the maturation and individuation process. So sometimes the trauma is so big that it forces us through the maturation and individuation process, whether we want to do it or not. And it can be that we experience so much pain already that we're very adverse to any ambush that might give us a little bit of pain again. It's like the movie Rambo First Blood. It was the first one where they're trying to shave him in the jail cell, and they got the billy club over his neck, and they said, "Would you just stand still, or we're going to cut you just because you're struggling?" And so Rambo flashes back to the Korean PO War prisoner of war camp where they cut him with a knife, and he just loses his mind because he's like, I don't want to feel the pain again. He gets this extreme power and remedies himself where he probably was going to be hurt again. So a lot of times trauma is involved, and sometimes it can be that the trauma we experience as kids went on so long that we either had to mature or die. And if we experienced that, we would have been more prone, even if we were drunk or high, more prone to say, I see this snowball, this boulder rolling toward me. I can see it gaining momentum, and I know this is going to hurt if I don't step out of the way. And we can be so adverse to additional pain because we've gone through so much that, we start to step aside and, sidestep the tyranny. And most people that you say are asleep, they know what's going on. They're just using their intelligence to find safety, short-term safety, where we're using our intelligence to find long-term safety. And there's a big difference. So it's not like they're low IQ or they're not really understanding that they're in danger. They're just thinking that sometimes they're thinking, if I'm with the herd, I'll be safe. Others are thinking, well, I just hope the wolf eats me last. And they have various coping strategies that are short term. And a lot of times that have to do with the short term thinking part of the brain. It's still in fear, but also nicotine, smoking cigarettes turns on the short term thinking part of the mind. Alcohol does. So the more poisoned you are, the more you think short term.
Yeah, and alcohol is, like you said, on on the plane kind of thing, but it's so easy to get hold of alcohol, isn't it? It's pushed down, literally down your throat, and obviously, in a spiritual sense, you've got the demon are cool, and they call spirits for a reason, and booze, there's a ghost, isn't there? So they do know that it lowers your frequency and your vibration, and therefore, I know I'm not sure where you head in terms of the spiritual side of things, Jason, because I've not heard you talk about it, but they use dates, don't they? They use methods of, I would say, attachments, entity. They use rituals. We see this happening, and it's been happening forever and ever. Is that something that you believe in yourself, or do you just see it as these guys believe in it, so it doesn't really matter?
It doesn't matter because they definitely believe in it, but their knowledge of the vibrational realm is superb, and they've never passed on that information to us. And they know that humans are sort of walking radio frequency towers. Yeah. And they know about lowering frequency. They work in the frequency realm. They know that the weaker you are, the easier you are to control and bend to the will of the mind control expert. They know things like, I'll give you a prime example of how they work psychically and in the frequency. So first they forced everybody to take the jab, or forced as many as they could through mind control means, mostly group pressure and various other modalities of psychological manipulation. But then they knew they had reached their peak uptake rate. And so not only were the people who took the shot disempowered through the poisoning, which lowers their frequency, the wrecking ball comes around again psychically and saying, you took the shot, we're just here to let you know it was a big mistake. So they go public on purpose to say, not only did I poison you, and knowingly, because of course the Pfizer executive in the European Parliament, I think as it was Rob Roos, the Pfizer executive admitted the jab was never tested for safety or efficacy. It didn't prevent contagion. It didn't prevent you getting the disease, if the disease even existed. It didn't prevent you from spreading it. So they let all that information out on purpose. They said, go let them know how stupid they were to even believe us in the first place. So the frequency of the average human would have been knocked down through the poisoning and the poison in their bloodstream, then knocked down again psychically. And if you do muscle testing on someone who's knocked down psychically, they test weaker and weaker and weaker the more psychically you disempower them. The more lies you prove to them that you're pushing through their own system, or you're actually proving that they volunteered for something they should never have volunteered for. So that's like a very old black magic ritual where you trick them and then come out and tell them that they were tricked in order to disempower them further. And you would believe the average person would get their back up and resist the next attack. But in reality, the weaker you are, the more you comply with the next attack. That's why they do it.
Interesting. Right. Okay. Because obviously right now, without naming it, because you never know how YouTube are going to play the game with the way they cancel things. But they're obviously throwing a new a new monkey type thing at the moment, which people are being bombarded with again, and it's very, I don't know, it's almost so similar to the early 2020. It's not quite as heavy as that yet, but we're seeing it in the UK and on the news media, you know, that they're throwing this thing about. So in that respect, people that have fallen for it, that feel disempowered, are more than likely to fall for it again in your feeling then. And I was hoping it'd be the other way around.
Not fall for it because they're ignorant, but just fall for it because they don't feel like they can hack the pressure. And that leads to, when I teach solutions as well. And it's been proven your physical strength, your health, is your primary resistance to that pressure. So if you're psychically down, you can actually become psychically up by taking care of your health. If you're depressed, you can increase your mental strength through health and fitness. So health and fitness isn't about a six-pack down at the beach and you got 21-inch arms and you got them hanging out of your little convertible. That's not what it's about. It's about basically your ability to say no when you need to say your no. Because if you're weak, you'll give your yes. Because your body's like, hey, you're too weak to put up a fight. You're too weak to even have a disagreement. You're too weak to use your voice. You don't know how to speak up. You don't know how to speak back to corrupt authority. So just go along to get along. Again, you get the disempowered human. They'll take a knee to tyranny, and the last thing they'll see is their own severed head rolling in front of them. And they just hope the wolf eats them last, which is a coping mechanism of the human animal, but of the weakest human animal. The strong human animals don't put up with anybody trying to lop their head off. They actually logically, basically assess the situation as you or me, I guess. And if you're a strong human animal and it comes down, either you are going down or I'm going down, the strong human will be like, you're going down. Sorry, because you're the one threatening me, so you actually deserve it as well. I'm not encroaching on your freedom or your life, so I have the right, the divine right of the Creator to defend my life. And the average person needs a lot of strength to think like that. The strength can come from healthy living principles and exercise. And this is why in the system, they poison you with an inch of your life, and they discourage your exercise. They discourage any healthy intake of food. They poison the food. It's a full court press on making sure you're weak, because weak people comply more to mind control.
And speaking of weakness, you've opened up for a question that I was wanting to ask, and that is the demasculation over the many years. Now, when I had the pub, you'd have youngsters coming in, and there's a huge change in men these days. Huge change. So you'd have 20 young men coming into the pub. They'd all order 20 Malibus and Coke. They're ordering a drink that men in the 80s and 90s would have like. And I don't drink anymore, by the way, Jason. But this is what I was watching, and I'm thinking, we are seeing a complete change in masculine at the moment, and they're attacking the masculine as well, aren't they? At the moment, also that's part of what I'm seeing.
And this has been going on a long time. So a lot of the group that organizes this aren't just going to pull off what they did in 2020 before pre-priming the population to get them psychologically exactly where they want them. Because you're not going to do anything in 2020 to a strong population. It's impossible. You have to weaken them. So number one, again, repetition, because humans are proven to mirror, mimic, and copy the most repetitive content of their environment in an attempt to find safety in the bigger herd. And so when you look at the media, number one, it goes back a long way. I mean, just look in the 80s, like, who are your rock stars? They look like drowned rats, like Steve Tyler, Bon Jovi. I mean, these guys, they're, Mick Jagger, these are the people they want to put up on stage because they're not strong masculine men. Sure, they might have sex appeal because their wallet's 6 inches wide, but other than that, they don't have the masculine traits. So you start off with effeminate rock stars, and there's so many of that. I mean, look at Twisted Sister. Even though Dee
Oh, yeah.
Schneider was sort of a bigger man, all the makeup, Kiss with the makeup. This is not by happens, like this is not a chance happening.
Mhm.
This, if you look at it at an individual basis, but look at all the rock stars that started wearing makeup, right? All the hard rock stars. So then you start looking at, say, The Simpsons. Well, he's
Mhm.
Homer Simpson, but even look at the males on The Simpsons. So you have Bart Simpson. He's a buffoon and he's got a bit of
Yeah.
a stomach. And
Yeah.
Homer Simpson, the dad, he's a buffoon. He has a stomach. And they're morons compared to their female counterparts. Even the
Yeah.
baby is smarter than Bart. Maggie is brilliant. She was actually portrayed as the president of the United States one time in one of the Simpsons episodes. But you look at Peter Griffin in The Family Guy. He
Yeah.
is an overweight buffoon. See, the subconscious mind wants to mimic the most repetitive
Okay.
content. And then you look at the other members in the Family Guy. You have an alcoholic dog, right? Brian, who's always
Yeah.
drinking a martini. And then you have Stewie, which is a sociopathic infant, always trying to kill his mother. And then the female counterparts, calm, in shape, academic, morally sound, grounded individuals, Will Ferrell movies, Adam Sandler movies. So the
Yeah.
males have been buffooned through repetitive content. And then there's the feminizing chemicals, feminizing pesticides like atrazine. Atrazine is banned in the UK, full force in the United States,
Wow.
third leading pesticide sprayed on the American food supply. And then if those products are shipped overseas, they're getting the atrazine as well, proven to turn test animals gay. So why
Wow.
are we seeing all these effeminate men, and even like BPA, bisphenol A? They coat. When you get a receipt at a store, they've been coating the
Yeah.
receipts with BPA, and it's proven to abort males in the womb. So you have more female births. And then if a male happens to make it out on a much lower frequency, he's effeminate, or there's indication that they become sexually confused.
Wow.
Right. So it's a chemical attack. It's a mimicking through repetitive content attack. And then, of course, they're saying toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
this is a bad thing. I mean, some guy was attacking me today on Facebook because I put up a man without a shirt on, and he's like, "Oh, real men don't." It's just infiltrates into people's behavior. And let me give you an example how powerful mind control in general is. Not This has nothing to do with anything, but will demonstrate to the people listening how powerful this is. You know Darren Brown, I imagine.
Hmm. Yeah.
Right. He's a mind control expert from the UK. I don't know if anybody's seen The Push, which is his Netflix special, where it's a mind control scenario, 70 actors applying the various modalities I've talked to you about, mostly group pressure. And it's called The Push because it ends with an old man on top of a 10-story building with his legs hanging off the precipice. Now, how he got there, I'll send you the link for it because you cannot find
Oh,
it today to save your life, okay? And there's a reason for that, because if you watch this made for Netflix special, you'll understand exactly how 2020 to 2024 operates. So this man, for whatever reason, is on top of a 10-story building with his feet hanging off. But don't worry, the victim, so 70 actors, one victim. 70 people applying mind control to one poor person has no idea what's going on. The old man with his feet over the precipice, he's an actor too. He's a stunt man. He is harnessed because what happens, it all comes to this grand crescendo on the roof of the building where there's four people, or four actors, they're all actors, around the one victim. They got him in the middle. This is real group pressure. And there's other mind control modalities in play as well. And to relieve the group pressure, and you'll understand the scenario if you watch, to relieve the group pressure, all he has to do, the victim, the one person who does not know what's going on, all he has to do is go push the man off the side of the building. This is all, there's cameras everywhere. And so this scenario, which lasted 2 to 3 hours, was filmed 4 different times with 4 different mind control victims with the same actors applying the mind control modality, ending with the request to kill an old man. 3 out of the 4 killed the old man live on camera.
Wow.
Right. So 3 hours, 70 actors. You flew out of the womb when? And it's being that style and that intensity of mind control against you and your family for 30 years, not 3 hours, 50 years. It doesn't matter how old you are. That's how many years you've been under the mind control. So if they can make someone commit murder, and when the old man was pushed off the side of the building, there was many psychiatrists and psychologists came out from behind the hidden areas to calm down. You didn't kill him. Look over the precipice. He's on a harness. Calm down, because this is bordering on experiments that they used to do behind closed doors in deep underground bases, of course. So. Yeah. This is the power. They can make men women. They can make women men. They can make you take your own kids and do horrible things to them. And that's why, like I said, I was testifying for Senator Ron Johnson. That's why this is the most important information, because if you don't know how easy it is for you to lose your moral compass under group pressure mind control. That was just group pressure mind control. They didn't poison him to start. Now, if they would have poisoned them to start, all 4 would have did the murder. I guarantee if they would have given them coffee or alcohol during the shoot, 4 out of 4 would have did the murder, because people who are injured, people who are poisoned, are easier to mind control than healthy individuals. So just to let you know that they can make a woman cut off their breasts and take male testosterone, and vice versa. It's child's play to these people, and they control the screens, which means they control the repetitive content. Your entire environment is riddled with one poison or the other, and they don't really care what poison you use because it all has the same effect. You want to use Axe body spray? Well, that's okay. You don't want to drink coffee, but you want to drink alcohol? Good, because any poison will do. You want to use a Teflon pan instead of using toxic soap? You want to use organic soap but still cook in a Teflon pan? That's good, because Teflon will also make you poisoned. Any poison will do. They don't care which poison you pick, as long as you poison yourself, and they're going to give you the repetitive content by which you have this magnetic affinity or lust for a product that will destroy you, and you won't know why.
Wow, it's absolutely mind-blowing. Obviously, it's they're using the toothpaste, aren't they? There's so many avenues that it's just basically in your house. You just literally got it in your house. And then I did a short video a while ago, and it was based on your blog, which I linked to as well. And it was about word magic. So subliminally, we're affected as well, aren't we? So the words that are being used affect us. And I was going to ask you as well regarding that. symbolically as well. So symbols that are used here, there, and everywhere, and in the adverts and this, that, and the other. How does that work with us on a subconscious level? It's always, I've never quite got my head around how an Illuminati kind of symbol would affect me in some shape or form. How does it work?
Well, they're just trying to initiate you into their cult without you knowing it. That's why it's going to work,
Really?
because don't forget, the most repetitive themes and symbols is what you'll find safety in. So they find it of great entertainment to make, with all many of the Olympians would do the one-eyed symbolism with their medals, which means just a lack of, you don't have what's called depth. You lack visual depth. Like, you can't see. This is what the one-eyed symbolism mean. When you're blind in one eye, you can't see deeply into whatever you're looking at. You don't have this ability to see deeply. So people will just be mimicking that. But that's one of their ancient cult symbols. So they're trying to make us like them, because they say, look, we're not going to change. Let's change them to make them like us. So and they know that regardless of what symbols they use, you will find safety in them, because that's the way you're designed. You're designed to find safety in the most repetitive content. And they will use hidden words in bigger words. I'll give you an example of how words that'll be in your movies, that'll be in your TV shows, they'll be in your music, can affect your behavior. You're not even going to know. So if anybody goes to YouTube right now and puts in this, what you put in YouTube, Max Major, who's the mind control expert. So Max Major, AGT, which means America's Got Talent, but put AGT and put semifinal. Okay. And you will see a mind control display for the ages as well. So he is targeting Howie Mandel to be put under mind control, and 2 brilliant mind control hacks on Howie Mandel in only 5 minutes. Unbelievable. So Howie's like everybody else. He believes he's too smart to be put under mind control. And half of Max Major's presentation is a pre-recorded video, and then they play that pre-recorded video before he comes on live. And so when Max Major comes out live, he has his watch and he takes off his watch and he says, Howie, I'm going to take off my watch, and he's going to turn it so only he can see it. Max Major says, I can only see the watch. I'm going to put it to a very particular time that only I know. I'm going to go hang it over here on this hook. I'm not going to touch it. I want you to close your eyes now, Howie. Think about the hands of a clock going round and round. It stops at a particular time. Do you see the time, Howie? And there's a very particular reason you get a hypnosis victim to close their eyes, but I won't get into that. Mm-hmm. And he says, do you see the time? Howie says, yes, I see the time. Max Major says, open your eyes, tell me the time. And Howie says, 4 o'clock. So he goes all the way over to get the watch that's hanging by itself on a hook, brings it over, turns it around, and it's 4 o'clock. And he doesn't explain how he did that hack. He does explain how he did the second hack. How was that done? It was in his words. In the pre-recorded video that he played for the whole studio audience and the judges, he has very specific words. He used the word perform, performance, begin, comfortable, and he even used the word for. You might not have noticed that the word for is in comfortable. The word for is in be for. The word for is in performance. The word for is in perform. Your subconscious mind loves you so much and wants to protect you so intensely to show its love for you that it looks for any repetitive pattern it can find. And basically, when Howie was asked to pick the number, what time it was on the clock, the subconscious of Howie said, Howie, you have to pick a number here. The most repetitive number in the environment where you're in is 4. It appears you're in a 4 o'clock tribe. So you best flash the gang signs of the 4 o'clock tribe. Say 4, and there's a better chance you'll be safe than saying any other number on the clock.
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting.
So that technology is old. It's a black magic trick, knowing how your subconscious works. And they integrate that into your pop songs, your pop movies, your pop TV shows, on billboards, inside your magazine articles, and they're changing what you find safe. That's what they're doing.
Wow, it's incredible, really. I mean, I read somewhere that we use our 95% of our day is run by our subconscious. Is that roughly about right?
Absolutely, because it's doing stuff. It's doing your eyes blinking. It's doing your heart beating. It does your digestion, your cut healing, your hair growing. So it might sound like it's all based on thought, but it's just based on running you. The subconscious is what you need to run and live, that you're not charged with being in control of.
So how does somebody, obviously you mentioned health, physical health, it's a big thing. And I know that you coach, so when we come to the end, which won't be too far to the podcast, if you can explain what you offer. But is there a simple hack, is this something that someone's gonna have to dig deep on to improve so they become stronger?
I tell people, look, don't worry. I know what it's like to be attacking yourself. And if you are attacking yourself, I'll tell you, you're working as designed because your system is designed to copy the repetitive content in every TV show and movies about partying and drinking out of a bong and doing some crack. So I used to drink, I used to do cocaine, I used to do steroids, not because they made my life better, but because I was programmed to destroy my innate human potential. And those were the poisons I've picked. Maybe you picked other poisons. Yeah. So, I mean, the whole concept here is, look, the only reason this is going on is potentially you don't know a lot about mind control, and that's okay. I can teach you for free. But in order to change, you're going to need some strength. You're going to need some power and some charge, some fuel, because fighting this system, you're going to need some energy. You got to gather some white magic energy in the ball of light that's going to power you forward. So you really have to go into your kitchen and don't worry about Keir Starmer or whoever else is on the stage that day, giving you the control content. Don't worry about those guys or ladies. Don't worry about them. It's about you. It's really about you. Winning this battle has more to do with what's in your kitchen cupboards, what's in your habits, your customs, your rituals, what's in your fridge. That's what this is about. It's about trying to give you the incentive to move out of the poison system and into the health system, out of dependence and into independence, away from the poison and back to sort of what God makes. So food in a factory to food in a field, away from science and back to nature. This is what this is about. And it's about progress. It is not about perfection. I remember dealing with a guy. I said, how many coffees do you drink a day? And he's like, 3. I'm like, okay, not bad. He goes, no, 3 pots. I said, what? Three pots? Did I get that right on this questionnaire? 3 pots of coffee? He says, yeah. I'm like, I don't even know how you're alive. That's its own category in self-sabotage coaching, by the way. I don't know how you're alive is actually an official subcategory of self-sabotage. So we reduced it. So by the time he was done with me, and he continued on his own for years to get down to nothing, but we got him down to 1 pot. That's fantastic. The coach who coached me, he would tell his people, smoke organic tobacco, just as the first step, just so that we can lessen the chemicals just a little bit. The person who drank vodka were like, why don't you go get Rain vodka? It's organic. Rain vodka is organic. And there's organic beer. And I say, just start, because a promise is a contract you keep with yourself that ends in your increased self-confidence. So start with a promise to yourself. Know that to win this battle, you're going to have to be healthy. It takes time. And again, you do it over a longer period. You'll have some failures. You'll have more victories, though. You'll leave the self-sabotage tool shed and walk lonely, finding your strength in the dark night of the soul. And sometimes you'll go back to the self-sabotage tool shed to have a party with the girls or the guys. And that's completely normal. But the longer durations you are outside the poison, the more you win your power back from them. See, etherically, power is something that can never be created nor destroyed. So if you regain power, it had to come from somewhere else, and it would come from your rulers. So by empowering yourself, you disempower them at a distance, keeping yourself safe and allowing you to focus on your new craft of becoming the most powerful leader in your community. That's where this ends and begins.
I love that. Yeah, that's fantastic. That yeah. You know what, Jason? I don't want to end it just yet, because I could talk to you all night. But if I can just ask you, because hopefully we can do this again sometime, because I know you're a very busy man. Who are they, for one, and why are they doing this? Have you gone into that yourself? Have you figured any of that out? I mean, what's their game here?
Well, I get that question a lot. So that I'll send you not only the push, but I'll send you the article I wrote that gives you at least 10 interviews and documentaries that describe who they are.
Great.
Because they are a very old group who have particular beliefs and know things that are so fantastical yet are true, the average person would not believe it.
Okay.
So they're working in frequency and tone. They're working in vibration. They're aware of how this reality works as sort of either a holographic or AI generated reality. They supposedly make contracts with other vibrational entities that they can communicate with but cannot see. They're a very odd bunch. They like children. They like to sacrifice children. It's so dark. Most people like even the provable things about this group, like that they're pedophiles at the highest echelons, not Will and Joe down at the lodge, as David Icke likes to say, but in the higher echelons, there's a lot of pedophilia, a lot of cross-dressing. They do have a hatred for natural function, like families, penis, vagina, reproduction. They don't like that. Mm-hmm. They don't like happiness, compassion, family, children. They're a very odd group.
Yeah.
And what was your other question? I'll send you that list so that people can get familiar. But what's their end game? Their end game is they're death-centric by their very vibration. They do not like life at all. Whatever the vibration or spirit that is anti-life, anti-God, anti-family, anti-children, it's in them. And it could be potentially the fact that we, again, are believed to be walking emitters and receivers of wireless information. And it appears that in this plane of existence, there's light, life, and there's darkness. And they do a little dance. There's light, there's living and dying. And it appears that sometimes the dying part is a little greedy. It wants more than 50% of the stage. It wants to dominate, right? It wants to be heard like a child that isn't heard enough. It wants to make itself known and look at me and look at me. And these cycles of dealing with the death cult, or the death drive as they call it, is intertwined with periods of great human awareness and great human innovation and invention. And I think we're pulling away from the death vibration at this point and about to enter, maybe not in our own lifetime, but several lifetimes ahead, we're going to experience again a great blossoming of the light side of humanity, the invention and the innovation. And I think people like you and I are laying the groundwork for that, so that's completely possible. We're playing our role in pushing back and trying to expose the darkness and saying, look, light is better, life is better, family's better, reproduction is better, children's better, love is better, compassion's better. Let's go down this road and avoid all the pain that this dark vibrational entity lives off. Let's starve it to death by giving it so much joy and beauty that it just disintegrates and runs back into the cave from which it came.
Game on then, Jason. Game on.
Let's get to work.
Let's get to work. Jason, that's a perfect way to end this podcast. Thank you so much. Can you just tell people where they can find you? And obviously you offer courses, I believe, as well, an opportunity to work with you also. Is that right?
Yeah, the courses, I mean, I have the private email system, and it's private so that I can always send out the best videos, best articles of the week. I send it out 3 to 4 times a week, and I only see the public coaching wise a couple times a year. So when the coaching time is on, I'll let people know. It's very quick on the email system, but I can teach people for free. Start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. It's about progress, not perfection, and just start practicing the physical pillar of strength, which is our health. And again, move ahead, lead by example, and bring beauty back to the world. And take pride in yourself and build your self-confidence. That's where this is going to be one.
Yeah. And what's your website again, Jason? Is it?
It's just jchristoff.com. Again, if they want to get on my email system, just email me personally at info@jchristoff.com. And it's a single initial J. Christoff is Christ with an OFF. Just email me personally at that email address, and I'll just put you on the private list, and you'll get some really valuable stuff. All helping you understand what's going on, helping you build solutions. And I teach a 5 pillars of strength system. Starts with the physical pillar, then the financial, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual. And we'll teach you a little bit about those so that when the attack comes, you're going to be ready as you possibly could. And don't worry about it. If you're prepared, when it comes, but you're going to be ready.
Yeah, it's amazing. Thank you so much for your time, Jason. I would highly recommend that you get those emails. I've been getting them a while, and they're incredible to read. Amazing work that you're doing, brother, and please keep it up. It's important that we have people in this realm that we're in, fighting for the good and for the light and the love. And I appreciate you, Jason. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak to your audience.